Wander Franco. We have not heard anything about Wander Franco for what feels like months now. I can't remember when was this story even broken. I believe it was back in August, if I think back correctly. So it's been about 6 months since we've really heard anything. If you are not aware of what happened with Wander Franco, there was, according to the reports, an inappropriate relationship with a minor going on, and that is no bueno. That is disgusting. We cannot be doing stuff like that. But the last we had heard about anything was there was an investigation going on. He was placed on the restricted list, and we hadn't heard anything. So now we got this tonight. So this came out from, I'm not sure, I'm going to botch the pronunciation, the Listine Diario. I'm probably botching that, but that came from there. And then Mike Rodriguez, or Mike Deportes on X, he put here, the Santo Domingo Prosecutor's Office for Children and Adolescents carried out 2 raids this Tuesday at homes in Bani Paravia province in search of the Dominican Major League Baseball player Wander Franco. He was not found. So many people are having a field day with this on X right now. People are just running with all the jokes. I even jumped in. I put a little picture of Bobby Valentine with the mustache, and I said, hey, look, it's Wander Franco right now. But yeah, everyone's kind of running with this right now because everyone's thinking, okay, this guy's on the run. I actually do have a friend that's a police officer, and I asked him, like, hey, is there anything here, like, that we should be thinking about? Like, because he does this kind of stuff all the time. He's out there. He's got to find all the people they're trying to investigate and everything like that. So I said, hey, is there anything that we should be, maybe thinking about that we're not quite thinking about? Basically, he said, if he's smart, he would have been on the run, a while ago, right? But, while they were doing this investigation. So who knows? I mean, could he, I saw someone else put out there that maybe he was tipped off. I highly doubt that, though. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess it's always possible, but I would think anytime, with police and whatnot, they're very hush about everything, right? So you don't want to be letting anything like that get out. But who knows? Maybe it's possible he heard something, got a tip, and he took off. Or maybe he hasn't even been there for months now. I mean, who knows? Maybe he was just out somewhere. I don't know. But either way, they can't find him. Whatever it is, they did raid his homes in the Dominican Republic today, and he was not found. But this tells me that this is only going to escalate from here, and I would imagine at some point in the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to hear something about this. If I were you, I would probably follow maybe this X page here if you are interested in picking up any sort of news that might come out, or simply just go follow Mike Deportes on X or Mike Rodriguez. So yeah, I would imagine we are going to hear something. But at this point, Wander Franco, they are looking for him. Who knows what, I don't know. They obviously have to have something of significance or enough evidence, something where they want to at least go ask the man some questions. And I read something else, too, when they raided his home. They did not find any evidence in his homes. So that was also another thing that I read. Either way, seems like they want to talk to the guy. And that can't mean anything really good for him. I don't know. But either way, I do think we will hear something at some point. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. But I will say this, if this ends up turning into something where it gets real serious and, he ends up getting arrested and charged, that's just crazy. Like, I can't think of an example. I don't think there is one, right, of a player with that much potential. Where, remember, go back a few years, 4 years ago, everyone was like, wait for Wander Franco. This guy is going to set the world on fire. He's going to be one of the best players to ever play the game. This guy is special. He's a one of a kind. And just like that, after he signed a long-term deal with the Rays, for it to just go down the tubes like that, that is absolutely insane. I can't think of an example. I don't think there is one. I'm knowing me and my potato brain. There is an example, and I'm completely forgetting about it. But I can't think of anything. That's just crazy. Where this guy had all of the potential in the palm of his hands. I still remember. Go back to the 2021 playoffs, right, where the Rays were playing my Red Sox. I was saying during those, I was doing watch-alongs for those games, and I'm like, man, Wander Franco, the way he was playing in that series, it looked like he had already been there like 20 times already. It looked like he was already just so used to the bright lights. Right? He was very comfortable, right? And he was, still in his very early stages of his career at that point, and he was handling the postseason stage like it was nothing, right? And he was putting up a really good season last year until, obviously, everything here went down. So that's crazy, man. If this guy's career ends up being over, this has to be one of the one of the biggest busts in history. Every time we think of busts, we always think of guys that don't, live up to their potential. But I mean, I think this is like a bust and a half when you think about it. It's like it wasn't your ability on the field where you didn't live up to your expectations. It was your ability off the field, right? You got to be able to make it to the ballpark too, right? And then also being a good person at the same time, right? And it's like, goodness gracious. What a way for a career to just go down the tubes. I can't even think of the words. I will say, if this all ends up being true, I've said this in the past, it's disgusting. I got nothing to say really anymore about that. It's an awful situation, man. And that's terrible, man. It's terrible. But let's get away from the negativity. Here. Let's move on here. We do have some actual baseball news, right? Not stuff that's off the field. We got the Toronto Blue Jays in the news here. And, honestly, I'm probably just going to switch my tabs here on here because my buttons aren't working for some reason. So I'm probably just going to switch through here. So let's talk about the Blue Jays, right? Kevin Kiermaier, 1-year deal. And, hey, it is Boxing Day. I just realized they wrote here. The city of Toronto got a Boxing Day gift from the Blue Jays. For those of you that don't know, I was actually born in England, and we have Boxing Day as well. So I don't really celebrate Boxing Day. I'm more of a Christmas guy now. I'm retired from the Boxing Day festivities. But for the Blue Jays, Kevin Kiermaier. I've always been a fan of Kevin Kiermaier. I've always been a fan of players. They bring more than just the stat line, right? And with Kevin Kiermaier, he's a gritty player. He's a tough player. He goes out there and just plays the game of baseball. Sure, does he end up missing time due to injuries and whatnot? Yeah, sure. But what Kevin Kiermaier brings to the field, you're going to get a decent player, right? Hit 265 last year with a 741 OPS. Had 8 homers, 14 stolen bases. But with Kevin Kiermaier, you're going to get really good defense out there. And at a position, that's a very high-value position, right? When you think of the high-value positions in the game of baseball, right, obviously being a pitcher is very high value. But when you think of the guys out in the other positions out there, you think center field, shortstop, catcher, right, even second base as well, being in the middle infield. Kevin Kiermaier, he has it like locked down out there. But players, they like playing with him, right? And he's a good leader in the clubhouse, right? He leads by example as well. Just a hard-nosed player. He's not going to give you the best stats all the time, but he's going to give you that full 110% effort. So I do like the move for the Blue Jays. To me, I know there were some jokes early in the offseason where, there was the connections with Kevin Kiermaier and the Yankees, and Yankee fans are thinking, "Oh my gosh, are we really gonna have Kevin Kiermaier be our number one acquisition this offseason, right? And I even said, hey, why not, maybe even the Phillies at one point, right? Bring a good defensive outfielder out there that's going to give you a little something with the bat. I thought maybe the Phillies could have been a good option. I even just was saying the other day, why not the Padres, right? The Padres, they could have used something out in center field. Wouldn't have cost all that much. Ended up being a $10.5 million deal. So I thought maybe the Padres could have been something. But in the end, for the Blue Jays, hey, they're just running it back. And, you can't really go wrong with having a guy like this on your team. But for the Blue Jays, you're kind of thinking here, what are we looking at in terms of the offense? Where I've been saying for this whole offseason, feels like they really needed something here. But I've also said, too, they also need to improve within, right? And they need some of these guys to start picking it up a little bit more. Like Vlad Jr. last year didn't have a bad season necessarily, but we want that 2021 Vlad Jr. We want that Vlad that was in the running for the MVP. George Springer, you would like to see a little bit more out of. He hit 258 last year, but the on base was less than desirable. The slugging, only a bit above 400. Bo Bichette, yeah, fine. I'm fine with Bo Bichette. I'm good with those numbers right there. 306, 339 on base, 475 slugging. But you need more out of Springer. You need more out of Vlad. Maybe Davis Schneider over a full season. You can end up getting a little bit more out of him. But getting to someone else like Dalton Varsho, I feel like with Varsho, he's another one of those guys, right? Like a hard-nosed kind of a player. He's going to give you some really good athleticism. Had 20 homers last year, 16 stolen bases, good defense as well. But with Dalton Varsho, only hit 220, on base under the 300, slugging under the 400. You need more out of him. You definitely need something there. So what do they do here? I mean, with Kiermaier, center field, that pretty much eliminates getting Cody Bellinger at this point, if you ask me. I just think with Cody Bellinger, there's really, unless, no, I don't even want to say unless. I was going to say, could you maybe move Cody Bellinger to first base, and then Vlad can be your DH? I guess that's possible, but Bellinger brings you good defense out there. So I would think that's probably off the table at this point. So I would expect now, when it comes to the Blue Jays, I would expect them to go after a designated hitter. And they have been attached to some of the guys out there. We've seen them attached with players like Justin Turner. I think Justin Turner, if they could find a way to bring him to Toronto, I think that would be a really good fit, to be honest. I love the idea of Justin Turner. I know we all look at the stats, right? But I'm a big clubhouse guy person, right? I like those clubhouse guys, right? Where they bring that good energy into the clubhouse. It feels like the Padres could have needed, use some of that last year. But there are options, right? You have JD Martinez out there. Jorge Soler could really hit some bombs for you if they, listen, they were about to give $700 million to Shohei Ohtani. Now, I know that's Shohei Ohtani, right? There's so much more that goes into that, right? There's the whole market as well. Off the field. But to me, you got the money. So, no, I'm not saying you got to go out there and go spend $200 on Snell and, $200 on Montgomery. I'm not saying you got to, now you have $700 million, right, that you were ready to commit. Doesn't necessarily mean you just go start throwing it at all these other players. But you can go make a signing like Martinez, like Soler, like Turner, maybe even someone like Jock Peterson, right? Something. I feel like I honestly wouldn't mind the addition of someone like Jock Peterson, or Rhys Hoskins, right? Rhys Hoskins is another guy that the Blue Jays have been connected to. So I do feel like they need some thump in this lineup. I'm looking at Danny Jansen at the DH spot. Honestly, to me, if you could add a DH and maybe you could package Jansen in some kind of a trade, maybe get some other pieces, right? Or you just keep Jansen, right? You can have Jansen and Kirk as your duo for catching. So either way, I don't think the Blue Jays are done here after adding Kiermaier. I do expect them to add some kind of a bat. But That's just me. Who knows? Maybe the Blue Jays are done. I don't know. But let's go to the other teams on this that when we're talking about Cody Bellinger, we all know Cody Bellinger had a good bounce-back season with the Cubs last year. Just going over the numbers with you one more time. Hit 307, 525 slugging, 356 on base, the 134 WRC plus, 26 home runs. Good bounce-back season for Cody Bellinger. 3 down years with the LA Dodgers. I thought Bellinger was a perfect fit, right? And it seemed like at one point there was something brewing there, right? Girlfriend had posted a picture, or fiance, can't remember, posted a picture in Toronto, and people are thinking, oh man, Bellinger's in Toronto. Oh my goodness. But didn't happen, right? So maybe the money was too much. We had even heard reports that Bellinger was even considering waiting until later on in the offseason. I think Bob Nightingale might have reported that. There was also something else that he was looking for over $200 million. I personally don't think Bellinger is going to be a $200 million player, right? If we were to go to baseball trade values, with baseball trade values, I know Christmas is come and gone, everyone, but if you wanted to give yourself a nice gift, baseball trade values right now they have a membership option, and with my code HIDE, you get 10% off on a subscription. You get completely, like, no ads on the site, and you get a couple of tools that you can play with as well. So if I were to go here to the players tab where you see player value timelines, you can actually go type in any player, and you could, and depending on their situation, you can look up what their future free agent value can be, or even future extension value. So with Bellinger, I'm going to go pull up here the future free agent value tool. Basically, what they're using here is they're using numbers similar to how Fangraphs comes up with their values, their field values, right? And they're looking at all the other things like age, stuff like that. So with Cody Bellinger, they're projecting, personally, if he were to get, let's say an 8-year deal for Cody Bellinger, they're actually thinking with Bellinger, I think they're still looking at those 3 years with the Dodgers, and they're still seeing, because of those down numbers, maybe that's contributing here, right? Because you're also looking at the track record, or they're looking at the track record when it comes to their values as well, future values, right? So they're projecting for an 8-year deal around $18 million. I disagree with this. I think he will end up getting higher, right? You got to dictate the market too. So let's say if we looked at the 6-year deal, you're looking at maybe around $20 million per season. Personally, with me, I feel like Bellinger probably ends up getting around, and I will say this too, they've been very good when it comes to a lot of the players, when it comes to the values using this tool. So Bellinger, I think, honestly, you'll probably end up seeing maybe around like 22, 24, right? I could see Bellinger getting maybe like 6 years, if it were a 6-year deal. Let's say 8. I don't know. I would say maybe like 22 per year. I don't know. Even that might seem a bit much for Bellinger, honestly. It depends, right? Because there's not a whole lot of bats on the market. So if a team gets desperate, or if a team has a hard time bringing in players, maybe they overpay a little bit, like the Giants. Just saying. Maybe they end up throwing some extra cash, right? So let's say you did $20 million per year for 8 years. I think you could see like an 8-year 160 kind of a deal for Cody Bellinger. But they're basing this off of solely his track record in recent years, as well as the numbers that he put up last year, obviously. And they also factor in projections as well. And basically, they're thinking he'll live up to the contract over the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then you could see where he's not really living up to the contract in the final 3 years. So I think with Bellinger, personally, I think he ends up getting like a 150, 160 kind of a deal. If it's over 8 years, we'll see. So with Bellinger right now, he is only 28 years old. So I could definitely see an 8-year deal going on until he's 36. So we'll have to see. But for teams with Bellinger, I'm still not going to count out the San Francisco Giants. I'm really not. And even though they added Jung-Hoo Lee, when they added Lee, I first thought, oh, well, I don't know, maybe that kind of that eliminates the possibility of Bellinger. But, with the Giants, you could move some guys around, right? I know Wilmer Flores had a really good year last year, but with Wilmer Flores, he doesn't necessarily have to be the DH. With Flores, I believe he played a few different positions last year. I'm trying to remember with Flores. My goodness, Fangraphs, you're killing me. So he mostly played first last year. He did DH quite a bit too, but he did play some third, and he played a little bit of second too. So Wilmer Flores, I know you got Lamont Wade Jr. there too. So, I know Lamont had himself a pretty decent season last year. The slugging wasn't anything to go crazy about, but the on base was really good. 373 on base, 256. So, maybe you figure out something there. Maybe Flores just bounces around a little bit. You got Tyro Estrada at second base. So, again, maybe you could move someone. Maybe you can put Conforto more in that DH spot. But also remember with Bellinger, too, he can move around. Right? He can go play pretty much every single position out in the outfield. He can go play some first. He can go DH some days. So I still think there's a chance Bellinger, even though the Giants do look a little full right now, I think you still could figure out a way to get Bellinger in there. Maybe they trade off someone. But the one thing with the Giants, the one thing they do have is they have money, right? Will Bellinger want to go to San Francisco? They just have a really tough time bringing in guys. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I do think there is a possibility there. We have been seeing people suggesting the Angels. With the Angels, it's interesting because they just lost Ohtani. So, Bellinger, when you look at it, could just be a fallback option, right? Bringing in another lefty bat. No, he's not Shohei Ohtani, but still going to bring you something. Going back to LA, you just be on the other side of town there. And, and I still think this Angels lineup is pretty good. And if you got Bellinger in the fold, 8-year deal, and the Angels, I know the Angels, they've had their history of bringing in guys with big contracts and they just don't work out. It kind of almost feels like that could very much happen here too. But with Bellinger, it feels like an Angels kind of a signing. You know what I mean? Like that big name. Maybe the contract doesn't really work out. So, I don't know. It feels like an Angels kind of a move when you think about it. But I know you got Trout out in center field. You got Ward out in left. You got Moniak out in right. So, to me, I would think, I know with Moniak, but with Moniak, he's going to be more of that platoonish kind of a guy. So, I don't know. Maybe you could deal him. Possibly. Maybe a team would be interested in bringing him in. He is young, right? I mean, he hit righties really well last year. You got Seanwell at first. I would think they're going to stick with that guy long term. I don't think he's going anywhere. So, Bellinger, it's not a clean fit, but they could make it happen. Drury. You could just put Drury at, I know you got Rengifo there, so I don't know really if you move him. I mean, he's not even 27 yet. So, I don't know. He doesn't necessarily fit the Angels very much, but it's Artie Moreno, man. Who knows? It feels like an Angels move. But the team that feels like they have the inside track are the Chicago Cubs. His team that he was just with this past year and had a really good season. So, I mean, to me, when you think about the Giants, the Angels, Cubs, I just think to me, the Cubs, they just make the most sense when you really look at everything. Just put him right back out in center field. He moves around for you. I just think the Cubs, to me, out of all of them, make the most sense. We saw the Mariners. I guess they kicked the tires at one point. I remember Morosi brought up the Mariners. That, I think, would have been a really nice bat to have. But it looks like the Mariners are cutting costs. So, I think it really is when you think about it. I think it's these three teams, Cubs, Angels, Giants. I saw someone suggest the Red Sox today. I'm thinking, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like someone put on what was it? Was it I can't remember who it was exactly, but they put, how would you feel about the Red Sox offseason if they added Cody Bellinger? I'm like, what? Why do people come up with this stuff? Like, what are we talking about? First off, the Red Sox, if they're not even throwing that much money at anyone. We've just found that out with Yamamoto, first off. Why would they go out a left-handed bat in Cody Bellinger? I don't get that. I don't understand the thinking with some people. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Chicago Cubs, they seem to make the most sense. Sure, Giants, they could make some room. Maybe the Angels could make some room. But out of everyone, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the Tigers frickin' come out of nowhere and just say, hey, here's the money. Tigers, I think, need a bat. I would love for the Tigers to add one more bat. That would be fun. But what do I know? Anyway, let's move on here. Speaking of my Red Sox, they have been tied to Teoscar Hernandez. Also, speaking of outfielders. And I actually got a little something for all of you. Not going to be that guy that says, I have sources. I have all the sources. But I do have a guy that I do trust. And I was talking to him about Teoscar and the Red Sox the other day. And he told me Saturday at 7:16 p.m. He said, I don't think Teo or Teoscar or Gio or Giolito is going to the Red Sox, at least not right now. So I said, I just kind of said, I thought, maybe it was more of a kicking the tires kind of a thing, because it had been coming out that there had been like some interest there over the weekend. And he told me, so again, I'll read it to you. He said, I don't think Teoscar or Giolito is going to the Red Sox, at least not right now. Then he said, and this makes so much sense, and this is why I do believe it, just based off of everything that happened with Yamamoto and everything and all the other reports with the Red Sox lately saying they're not willing to really spend a ton of money. He said this, their offers were awful, it sounds. I'll repeat that. I don't think Teo or Gio is going to the Red Sox, at least not right now. Their offers were awful, it sounds. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know, man. Go back to last offseason with the Red Sox with Zach Eflin. They lost out to the Rays. How do you not offer more than the Rays? I get it. They didn't value Zach Eflin as much as the Rays did, but you lost out by $5 million. And so honestly, I believe it when he tells me this. One more time, in case you didn't hear it. I don't think Teoscar or Gio is going to the Red Sox, at least not right now. Their offers were awful, it sounds. Unbelievable, man. So anyway, but there seems to be something here, right? And, people, they like to go investigate. They like to go look at the social media accounts. And with Teoscar, if you go to his social media on X, right? If you go look at who he's following, over the weekend, very interesting, he followed the account Boston Strong. Very interesting. I don't see him following any other teams. And then he also followed Red Sox de Boston. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know, man. If I'm looking through all the teams, he follows the Mariners, right? Because that was the team he was just with, right? But if I'm really going through, or at least these are the ones that are showing, there's no other team that he's following. He's following some other players, but he just followed a couple of Red Sox accounts over the weekend. I'll be honest with you. I don't hate it, I would rather have some other bats if I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? If we're looking at some outfield bats, I'll be honest, like, or if I'm just looking at, DH kind of guys too, they need a right-handed bat. I'd much rather go get someone like Jorge Soler. Honestly, like, even like a defensive-minded kind of a guy like Michael Taylor with some pop, I wouldn't mind it. I know that makes me sound like cheap, but whatever. Honestly, even someone like Harrison Bader, who's going to be great out there with his defense, he's going to bring some speed. I wouldn't even mind that at all. I like good defense out in center field. I was spoiled by Jackie Bradley Jr. for a long time. Those are cheap options. But with Teoscar, he's going to be more of a corner outfield guy, would probably be the left fielder, I would imagine. And then you would have Tyler O'Neill move over probably to center field, right? So I wouldn't mind Teoscar Hernandez. However, the one problem with him, he was very streaky last year, man. I mean, look at the numbers here with Teoscar Hernandez. Going to the splits from last year. Fangraphs is killing me right now. I'm so tired of Fangraphs with the speed. I don't know what it is, man. Here we go. So if we were to look at his numbers month to month last year, in April, he had an 84 WRC plus. May, he had an 82 WRC plus. Then in June, he had a 160 WRC plus, had a 573 slugging, 949 OPS. He got red hot in June. Then in July, he completely fell off the face of the planet. He had a 46 WRC plus, 534 OPS. Then in August, the guy erupted. A 191 WRC plus with an OPS over 1,000. And then in September, he just completely fell off a cliff again. So it's like, if you see this in Boston, I guarantee you, Red Sox fans, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think Red Sox fans would be. He has the name, right? And when he was with the Blue Jays, he terrorized the Red Sox. He is an extremely good hitter at Fenway Park. I hated when Teoscar Hernandez came to Fenway Park. The guy just wrecked us every single time. So, however, if you're going to be seeing numbers like this, so inconsistent, I feel like Red Sox fans would just really start not to like it. With Teoscar, though, he has 14 career home runs at Fenway Park. More of those home runs came in the early going during his time in Major League Baseball since coming up in 2017. So I think in the first 3 seasons, I think he had 9 home runs at Fenway Park. But over the last couple of years, he only has 3 or 4 or so. So with Teoscar, if he was able to be a bit more consistent, not chase so much. That's another thing about Teoscar Hernandez. He has a very high chase rate, doesn't walk a whole ton, has a lot of swing and miss in his game. I just I feel like Red Sox fans would get really frustrated with him. I don't know. But then during those hot streaks, people will just love him, right? But that's kind of how Jackie Bradley Jr. was. Jackie Bradley Jr. got red hot at times, and you couldn't get the guy out, and people were just in love with JBJ, and he had the good defense out there. With Teoscar, he's not really going to bring you great defense. It's funny because he has really good speed. He has a good arm, but his reads out there just aren't great. He's more of just like an average. He's more of just an average outfielder at best. And you would think with his speed, he probably gets a lot of stolen bases, but he's not a very good base runner, right? So with Hernandez, you're really just getting a bat where, yeah, he's going to have some pop, but he's going to be really up and down. The one thing with his speed is that the one thing also with Teoscar Hernandez I want to point out is he's not really necessarily a pull hitter. He's really going to hit to all fields. He's going to pull. He's going to hit the center. He'll hit oppo as well. And a lot of his power last year actually went out to center and to right field. So I actually think that could go hand in hand with his speed, where maybe he ends up getting like 4 or 5 triples simply at Fenway Park alone, right? So I think Hernandez, I think it's fine. I don't mind it. Of course, if you're going to be adding a right-handed bat that has had good numbers in the past, I'm not going to hate it. Would I like someone like a Jorge Soler, or maybe, even bring Justin Turner back, who was good in the clubhouse? Teoscar seems like a guy that he has fun in the clubhouse too. So, we'll have to wait and see. However, it's not just Teoscar Hernandez they've been linked to. It's also some pitching. And when I saw this the other day, I'm not going to lie, I got a little frustrated. So Chris Cotillo, he put this out today at 2 o'clock on the dot, said there has been consistent communication with James Paxton and a reunion there is in play, but not a certainty. He also puts here they remain engaged on Lucas Giolito, along with many other clubs who are targeting his upside. I'll be honest, so a lot of you might think I'm crazy about the idea of adding someone like Lucas Giolito. I wouldn't mind the addition of Lucas Giolito for the Red Sox. As a 4 in the rotation, the upside of a 3, I'm okay with that because he's a workhorse. He's going to give you innings. You got Andrew Bailey, to me, Red Sox fans in the chat, Andrew Bailey to me is the game changer. All right, had some really good results with San Francisco over the last few years. I've had people tell me, what are you talking about? How did Andrew Bailey help out the Giants? I don't know who said this to me, but I'm like, did you see the Giants where they ranked in terms of pitching over the last few years? Very good, with not a whole lot of names. So Andrew Bailey, to me, I feel like if he worked with Giolito, I feel like that really could help him get on track. Bailey, the way he likes to go at it with his pitchers is he just focuses on their strengths. So I feel like with Giolito, figure out what's good, right? He's got a good curve, right? He's got some decent off-speed stuff, has still a pretty solid fastball. I just think with Giolito, man, if he does come to Boston, I'd be okay with it. 4 in the rotation. Again, a brutal second half last year, but his strikeout numbers were still pretty good. He was just falling victim a lot to the home run ball. 2 home runs per 9. That sounds a little scary at Fenway Park, but I think they could do something with him. That's just the way I feel about it. But the Red Sox, they need innings at this point. They badly need it. And you know what? Giolito, he's done well in the past. I just wouldn't mind it, right? But then you got James Paxton. Then you got that. And with James Paxton, he was really good when he first came back last year. And then it looked like he hit a wall. And I'm not surprised about that, right? The guy had been pretty much out of the game for the last 2 or 3 years. Comes back, stuff still looks good. Fastball's looking good. Good off-speed stuff. Everything is looking peachy keen. And then his numbers started to digress, right? Started to regress, and then he just completely hit a wall at one point. That just tells me needed to build up the innings a little bit more, needs a full spring training, needs an off season. If Paxton comes back and he's healthy, I am okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. And, even if you get numbers that are, like a 4 ERA kind of a guy. Let's look at the projections. Actually, Fangraphs, they do project Paxton as well as Giolito for some pretty decent seasons next year. You'd be actually surprised here. With James Paxton, they're projecting him for a Fangraph WAR in the 2s, which I know that doesn't sound like amazing or anything, but that would be pretty solid, right? If you got 150 innings, 26, 27, 28 starts, a Fangraph WAR of 2.3, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that for the back end of the rotation. And then Giolito, they're actually giving him the same projection at a 4.3, 29 starts, 164 innings. I would be completely okay with these numbers. Absolutely. However, with the Red Sox rotation, I'm not trying to make this a full Red Sox show here. They're in the news, everyone. I have to talk about the news. So they need something for the top of the rotation, right? If you had Paxton, Giolito at the back end. You would have Sale, and people think, why is Chris Sale in the number 1 spot? Chris Sale is the opening day guy. For anyone that needs to know that, Chris Sale is the opening day guy. Alex Cora even pretty much said it towards the end of last year. He just said, yeah, I want Chris Sale to be the opening day guy. I want him to have that confidence, right? I want him to have a mission to go after, basically, is what he said. So Chris Sale's the opening day guy, despite what you think of him. Then you got Pivetta. Then you got Bayo. Bayo will be the number 2 as of right now. However, and then you got Carter Crawford. Carter Crawford was pretty decent this past year. Now, if the Red Sox, so I'm going to wrap up here. The Red Sox, if they brought in Paxton and Giolito, that gives them some trade candidates. That would, in my opinion, make someone like Pivetta available, someone like Carter Crawford available, and then you got Tanner Houck right there, a younger pitcher with control, maybe even Josh Winkowski in the bullpen. The Red Sox, I think, are going to attack this rotation at some point with a trade. That if they're looking to add some lower cost starters, I do think at some point a trade is going to happen. Tanner Houck and Carter Crawford, they have high trade value. Now, they don't feel like the best returns, but when you factor in the economics of it, the years of control, the low salary, projections, they have some value there. So you could definitely include these guys, and someone like Pivetta too, you could include these guys in trades. Maybe attach 1 or 2 of these guys with someone like Jarren Duran, where Jarren Duran had himself a pretty good season last year, had a slugging at almost 500, a 346 on base, a 295 on the average, 24 stolen bases. But with Duran, StatCast wasn't the biggest fan of Jarren Duran. If we were to actually, my goodness, I cannot type. Fat fingers are a problem, everyone. But Jarren Duran, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of power from him. So while he did have good numbers last year, just the StatCast numbers weren't amazing, right? He's going to give you a lot of speed. The batting average expected is pretty good. He does get some hard hit balls, but he doesn't barrel up the ball a lot. He was okay with his exit velocity, but the xWOBA, slugging were low. He strikes out quite a bit. He doesn't walk enough. So Jarren Duran, he's interesting because he gives you a lot of good, really good things, but then there's other things that he's not very good at, right? But it all evens out to be a pretty decent player overall. So I think the Red Sox at some point, they're going to, I would imagine, trade Duran. Maybe you could even attach someone like Emmanuel Valdez, attach a pitcher or 2, and maybe they go get someone, right? Teams that need bats. You got the Marlins, Jesus Luzardo's there. Mariners fans will kill me for bringing this up. I did post a hypothetical trade earlier on X. I'll actually pull that up here real quick. Let me actually go here. Let me see. I'll show you the trade that I posted. I always like to post these trades. So here's the. I'll go follow me on X, right? I'll post these little who says no trades, right? I try to make them as interesting as possible for both sides. I try to, at least. I'm not very good at it sometimes, but I have Logan Gilbert for the Red Sox, and then Jarren Duran, Carter Crawford, Tanner Houck, and then Wickelman Gonzalez as a pitching prospect. It ends up coming out to the total value over $86 million for the Mariners, $65 million for the Red Sox. So for the Mariners here, you're getting a left fielder in Jarren Duran. You're getting 2 cost-controlled pitchers in Crawford and Houck, and then you're getting a pitching prospect with upside. Probably doesn't get it done. Maybe you could put Emmanuel Valdez in here, but that's an option, right? And then you got Jesus Luzardo sitting out there. I wonder at some point if the Red Sox and the Mariners or the Marlins come together for a trade for Luzardo or maybe Logan Gilbert. I would highly think, I'd probably say no on that. I don't think the Mariners will give him up. If they do, I would be a happy man. Or maybe someone like Bryce Miller or Brian Wu. I could see something like that too. So let's move on here. let's move on. Speaking of Teoscar Hernandez, one more thing I do want to add is that the Dodgers are remaining in contact with Teoscar Hernandez. So it says here, according to independent reporter Francis Romero, the Dodgers are among the teams currently monitoring the market for Teoscar Hernandez, though they are not considered the favorite to ultimately land him. The report comes nearly 2 months after the club first expressed interest in the slugger's services at the beginning of the offseason. Now, if you were with Robbie Claus on Christmas Eve, the gift that I gave the Dodgers, I'm tired of giving the Dodgers all the gifts. They don't need anything else. But if they actually really did need something else, I would say probably a bat for the outfield, right? Sure, you got Ohtani there. I know. They're just rolling around in all the good things right now. You got Mookie, Ohtani, and Freeman at the top. That's just stupid. But a right-handed bat, I think, would make some sense. Teoscar could be a fit out there. Basically, he's a right-handed bat for the outfield. So I think there is a lot of reasons why the Dodgers would be interested. Or could the Dodgers, they've already spent so much freaking money this offseason bringing in Yamamoto. Maybe you go for like a cheaper option like maybe Adam Duvall, something like that. We'll see. But look out for the Dodgers and Teoscar Hernandez. It definitely does make some sense. So, but I find the interesting part here is that he says here, though they are not considered the favorite to ultimately land him. Well, to me, like if you're really looking at the market for Teoscar Hernandez, I mean, I don't know, like, could you maybe, we were talking about the Angels a little bit ago, with the Angels, you know, I was talking about Mickey Moniak out there. That would be a right-handed option, right? And then Moniak is going to be that lefty. And I'm not saying that would be a platoon, but you could just put Teoscar out and right. And I don't know, right? You could put, I don't know, you'd have to do some maneuvering here. But the Angels could be a fit. But really, when I think about it, if the Dodgers are not considered the favorite right now, I mean, I'm starting to think maybe the Red Sox might be the home for him. Right? He's not going back to Seattle. We'll talk about that in just a second. Why that's pretty much off the table at this point. But, I mean, really, when you just think about it, could make some sense. Earlier, I want to say one more thing. I did say Tyler O'Neill would move out to center field if they traded Duran. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. So that's what I was thinking in my head. If they get him, then someone like Duran is going to be expendable, right? So it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But right now, I got to think the Red Sox are probably the favorite for Hernandez, especially if he's following their X accounts, right? The Spanish Red Sox account as well as the Boston Strong account. Got to think Teoscar and the Red Sox, maybe they are getting closer to something. Maybe that my guy that gave me that bit of news about the Red Sox offer not being very good. Well, remember, the first offer, you're negotiating. It's never going to be a good first offer, so maybe it's gotten better since then. So, but yeah, I think the Red Sox, if you sign Hernandez, that makes someone like Duran, in my opinion, expendable, or maybe Wilyer Abreu. I don't know. I would think they would probably unload one of the lefty bats in Duran or Abreu, but Duran has more of the track record. So I would think if you pair Duran, a pitcher or two, prospect or two, go get yourself a frontline starter, and the Red Sox could be in pretty decent shape. Moving on, let's stick with the Dodgers here. And listen, okay, everyone, okay. We saw Yamamoto going to the Dodgers the other day, right? I can't even believe I'm even bringing this up because I usually don't like to talk about these accounts, right? Those random accounts that just post all the rumors and like the random rumors, like, those accounts, right? Like MLB executive burner account or whatever the heck it's called. Even MLB Nerds was like that at one point where they're just throwing everything out there and they just kind of look ridiculous, right? However, there is one account, okay? So the only reason I'm even bringing up this account listen, I like to only focus on the credible sources, okay? But here's the thing with this account, right? They put out stuff with Ohtani before all of it went down, right? They were pretty much spot on with all of that, right? And if you go back here to before when Yamamoto ended up signing, right? Let me go back to that tweet. It was like a day before, I believe. Where is it? He put right here on December 20th. Yamamoto has decided to join the Dodgers. A source with direct knowledge tells me. This was the day before. And he ended up going to the Dodgers. So, I don't know. And he had stuff on Ohtani, too. He said Ohtani was not on the plane during the flight when everyone was tracking the flight. And then the guy from Shark Tank ended up coming off. So he was right about that, too. I think he said that if I go back, I mean, I have to go back a lot. Let me see if I can go back. Well, actually, I might be able to. He had, so Ohtani signed on the 9th. So he put on the 7th, Shohei Ohtani has decided to join the Dodgers, a source with direct knowledge tells me. So that happened, right? So the only reason I'm even bringing this up, I don't know, there seems to be, I don't know who the heck this guy is. Who knows? Maybe it's Jeff Passan having fun. But he put out today, the Guardians and the Dodgers are working on a trade that would send Shane Bieber and Emmanuel Clase to LA. Not done yet. Now, maybe he's had good luck here with the Dodgers. So maybe he's 2 for 2. So maybe there's a person that he's connected with in the Dodgers organization. Who knows? Maybe he's just getting really lucky. But everyone was all over this one today. Got to almost 500,000 views. And, could you imagine the Dodgers did this too? I mean, they could use another option at the back end of the bullpen. They have been connected with Hader. But with Hader, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. And Clase, honestly, I'd rather go get Clase instead of Hader because Clase is going to be much cheaper and he's younger. So that makes a lot of sense. And the Dodgers have the prospects to go get it done. So, and then you add Shane and here's the thing, and just take this into account. Right now, so you're looking at Yamamoto, Glasnow, Buehler, Miller, Sheehan. Well, you can just go put Sheehan, a couple prospects in a deal, and send that to Cleveland. I mean, that would get a deal done. And I can actually go here to baseball trade values, and we can put together a deal. The Dodgers, man, they've been waiting. They have been waiting for this time. So if I were to put a deal together here, and they can easily get this done. So taking a look here, and Clase is going to cost you a lot. I'm going to tell you that right now because Clase has a lot of control, right? He's on a very cheap deal. I think Clase isn't a free agent for 3 more years. I think he's only making $4 or $5 million per year. He's only 25 years old. Yeah, so he has club options for 27 and 28. So you got him for he had actually more control than I thought. You got him for 24, 25, 26. You got him for 5 more years. And you're only paying him an AAV of $4 million per season. It's I would absolutely want Clase instead of Hader. Sorry. But with that control, with the good numbers that he puts up every single year, he had 44 saves this past year. A FIP still under 3. I mean, in 2022, he was off the charts. He had a 1.36 ERA, 1.98 FIP. The strikeouts did go down this year, and the walks did go up a little bit. But Clase, I would absolutely love this guy in my bullpen. As you can see here, value in the 50s. And then Bieber, that's another thing too. Listen, I'm sorry, everyone. No offense to Shane Bieber. Clase is the main piece if a deal got put together. Like Shane Bieber, sorry, he is like he's the throw-in here. Clase is absolutely the prize of this deal, in my opinion. Unless Bieber can get it together. If Bieber gets himself right and he can, start, his numbers have been going down, right? And he's been having arm problems. So if he's good to go, if he's healthy and he gets those numbers a bit more on track, we've seen some really good numbers from Bieber before. We've seen some really good performances from him before. But overall, the velocity's been going down. It seems like he's turning more into like a ground ball kind of a picture. But to me, with the Dodgers, hey, I mean, he would bring you something basically for the middle of the rotation. I mean, look how strong that rotation is right now. But Clase, to me, is the prize of the deal. Now, for the Guardians, this would be great. I mean, to me, if I'm the Guardians, if you're a Guardians fan, I would be super excited about this, right? Because Clase, remember what I just said with him. His numbers went up a little bit this past year. So right now, but he still has enough of that track record to where his value is still really high. So you're still selling high on Clase right now. Because let's say he has another year with Cleveland, and let's say these numbers maybe start to go back down, keep going down, right? ERA starts to go up a bit more, FIP goes up a little bit more, strikeouts don't go back up. Well, then you're looking at an issue where maybe he's starting to lose some value. So the Guardians, this would be a good time to trade him because his value is still high, right? So Guardians fans, you should be excited about this opportunity because you can get some really good players. Now, the first player, I think, right off the bat, if the Dodgers are really going for it, and you're putting Shane Bieber in your rotation, yeah, I'm asking for Sheehan. That's going to be a big piece that would go back, a young starter, good stuff. Right, you're going to get, didn't have a great year last year, but it's first year. But I could see him definitely going back to the Guardians. I think that would be a really nice piece. Why not? Maybe like a power hitter. I'm thinking of with the Guardians, there's not a whole lot of power bats going on with Cleveland right now. And, someone like Pages, who has that power potential, I think that could be a good get, right? And with the outfield, you got Quan out there, you got Laureano. You got Straw out in center field. You do got some prospects. Like you got Valera, right? But to me, I would think Pages would be a pretty nice bat to bring in. Like a power kind of a bat. I would like that, honestly. So throw him in there, and then you can still keep going. Sheehan, Pages. I mean, go get a couple more pitchers. Maybe you can even get Michael Grove in that deal, like a River Ryan. Or maybe you can just go do Maddox Bruns, Landon Knack. I mean, right there, just this alone, it makes it even or very close to it. But, whatever. You can take guys out of it, put guys in. The Dodgers can easily get this deal done. So for the Guardians, this would be a really nice package, in my personal opinion. A package built around Emmett Sheehan, get a power bat, and Andy Pages. I don't know. I like this a lot for the Guardians. I think Guardians fans would be very, very happy with this, right? It would stink to lose Clase, and Bieber, of course. But, Clase, in my opinion, that would hurt more for me just because he's so cheap and he's young and he's your closer. But come on, like, you can go find another closer. It's not like, I'm not saying you're going to find someone like Clase, but it's kind of one of those things. They're like a dime a dozen, right? Someone comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden he's your closer, right? So I wouldn't be upset about that, to be honest. For the Dodgers, though, this would be massive. So let's see if it ends up happening. But again, it is coming from a source where it's not Passan, it's not Rosenthal, it's not Heyman. It's not really one of these top dogs out there, but he got Ohtani and Yamamoto right. So he's got the recency, the recent success going for him. So let's see. But remember, with Yamamoto, I will point this out. I think you gotta make some roster space for Yamamoto. I think you have to make. I think their 40-man is full at this point. So I think you're going to have to. I think they got to clear out like some of the roster space there. So if you made this trade, yeah, you're getting rid of some guys on your 40-man. So this would make some sense. But we'll see if anything happens. We did have some other news over the holiday, right? Christmas Eve, Mitch Garver said, hold on, everyone. Stop what you're doing. I'm going to the Mariners. 2-year, $24 million deal. Listen, I actually really like this. I like this for the Mariners, to be honest with you. I think this is a really good move. Garver, to me, he's no longer a catcher. Like, he can go catch a few games for you, right? Maybe 20, 30 games per year he can go in there. But this guy, he's a bat at this point. He's a right-handed bat. Had a good year last year. Over the 87 games, he did miss some time, but hit 270, a 370 on base, 500 slugging. I mean, you just added an 870 OPS to your lineup. That's not bad. And he just had a good postseason too. I think this is a really good addition for the Seattle Mariners. So, but this definitely takes them out. Like, I was wondering if maybe there could be a reunion with Teoscar. That makes me wonder, man. Like, I wonder, because with Teoscar, I'm wondering what his contract will end up being. Again, I'll go back here to baseball trade values, and I'll pull up the extension tool. And if we actually go here and look up Teoscar, they don't give him a very high projection. And they actually are very low right now. So they're saying if you got a 4-year deal, you're looking at $40 million per season. Or $40 million for the whole contract, $10 million per season. Well, 10.8 to be exact. That's what they're projecting him for. So with Garver, he just got $12 million per season. So that's right around what Teoscar is projected for 2 years. So that makes me think if Garver got 12 per season, I think Teoscar is going to end up getting more than that. So I'm thinking with Teoscar, probably, I don't know, maybe they're looking for like 16 to 18 per season, and then they're going to settle on something like 14 to 15 per year. I could see like a 4-year, $60 million deal for Teoscar Hernandez. Maybe you end up seeing like a 4-year, 55, something like that. I think that's what Teoscar is going to end up getting. Or maybe like a 3-year deal. I could see that. If you did like maybe 16 per year for 3 years. So you're looking at a 3-year, 48 for Teoscar. And right now with Hernandez, he is... How old is Teoscar? He's like 32 or... No, he's like 29, isn't he? Or he's 31. No, he's 31 years old. So... Maybe a 3-year deal, or maybe, I don't know, maybe gets a deal till he's 35. So I think a 4-year deal, maybe a 3-year deal with an option. I could see that. But we'll see. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'll say like a 4-year, 55, 60. Maybe like 3 years, 45 with like a $15 million option, right, for the 4th year. I could see that. So, but I do like the addition of Mitch Garver. I think that's really good for the lineup, but I think the Mariners, they still need something. I would like to think there's something else they could do. Like I'm looking at Cade Marlowe out in left. I know he's a younger player. I know he was in like the top 30 prospects, but I wonder, is that the route they go? Is Urias going to be their third baseman? Is that settled? Is that a thing? Is that done? Rojas, is he going to be your second baseman? I would think that there needs to be something else in this lineup. I feel like the Mariners, again, I don't mean to keep bringing up my Red Sox, but I do wonder if there could be something there, right? Maybe, I know if you added Duran, and now what do you do with Marlowe? I mean, like, you got like a lot of lefty bats there. I mean, your entire outfield would be lefties. But, with Duran, you could put Duran, either you could put him as the leadoff guy. J.P. Crawford could bat 2. Julio bats 3. Garver bats 4. That's pretty good. So, yeah, I'm still waiting to see if the Mariners do something else here. I would like to think they're not quite done. And I see you in the chat. Mariners have potential, but their owner is cheap. That's why I could see them doing a deal, right, for someone like Duran, right, like a cheaper option like that with a lot of control. But do they trade Gilbert? That's the one thing, man. It's like I don't know. Teams are going to want Logan Gilbert. I don't think they give up Kirby. There's something with Kirby to me. I just think I think Kirby has the higher ceiling. It's funny because Gilbert had more strikeouts last year. They had the same exact innings. But Kirby to me, I just think I like Gilbert. I don't know what it is. I like Kirby a little bit more. They both got big fastballs, right? With Kirby's 25, Gilbert's 26, whatever. But with Kirby, I don't know, man. I just like the ability, the strike throwing ability with him. I mean, he's got the 60 command already. They think it could be a 70. But Gilbert's got the same thing, right? So they're both the same grade. I don't know what it is. Like Kirby, I don't know, man. I just think with Kirby, I lean a little bit more towards him. I don't know why. But that's just me. Either way, one of these guys, it's going to take a lot to get them, man. It's going to take a lot. We did have a couple other news. Martin Maldonado. There are reports a little while ago that the Red Sox were looking at Martin Maldonado. Well, I guess they had the reports wrong the whole time, where they just got the sock color mixed up. It happens. It happens. But Martin Maldonado, listen, I like this for the White Sox. I would have liked Martin Maldonado on the Red Sox. I know the Red Sox added Roberto Perez. And so, I've been seeing people comparing Roberto Perez and Martin Maldonado. Stop it. No. Martin Maldonado, do you have any good pictures this guy caught in the postseason? Oh, stop it. He's not Roberto Perez. No. Stop it. Martin Maldonado, with how bad that bat was, you think Roberto Perez, if he was good at calling games, you think Roberto Perez would, where even was Roberto Perez the last few years? Where is he? Where has he been? I don't know. I just think with Perez, if he were that good of a game caller working with the pitchers, we all know Roberto Perez has good defense. But I'm sorry, I saw some people out there saying Martin Maldonado wasn't even worth it. You brought in Perez. It's like, dude, Maldonado, that's exactly what the Red Sox pitching staff needs, in my opinion. A guy that's going to be a good game caller for you. I don't know. I would have liked it. I saw people joking around about it. I'm like, all right, whatever. This guy caught a freaking no-hitter in the World Series. Or was it him? Was it Vasquez? I don't know. I can't remember. Was it Maldonado? Or was it Vasquez that caught that game? I don't know. I'm going blank. Someone tell me in the chat. I can't remember if it was a Maldonado or Vasquez that caught that no-hitter. Was it? It was Vasquez, right? Okay, I take back what I said. Whatever. Maldonado, he's had a lot of success with the pitchers, so I think we could all agree on that. Anyway, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But I think for the White Sox, young guys there, hey, it won't hurt at all. The Yankees today. The Yankees. We finally got a trade with Estevan Florial. I can't believe it. I saw this report today. And I'm like, they actually did it. Those crazy son of a guns. They actually traded Estevan Florial. I didn't think this was, 3 years ago. Remember all the trade packages, right? You had Clint Frazier, Estevan Florial, Clark Schmidt. You had that package, right? And that package could get any player that they wanted. I thought it was funny that they finally moved him. Florial's a guy, man. I think he could be something. he has good tools. He just hasn't really gotten the opportunity to really go or to get any playing time. So it is what it is. Estevan Florial, you are a Cleveland Guardian. Everyone, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm gonna close up shop for the night. Over 500 people strong the entire time. Want to just say thank you for stopping by. Do appreciate that. I'd be honest, I wasn't thinking we were gonna get a whole lot of people in here tonight. They're tired from Christmas. I was tired all day today. I was exhausted today. I was just done. Man, oh man. But should be back here tomorrow night. I hope. Hopefully there's enough news to dive into, but I do plan on being live again Sunday. Right now during the off season, Sunday through Thursday. That's when I like to be live at night. So, but if we don't have anything to chew on, then I'm not really gonna go live. So, but expect to be here tomorrow night. Everyone, thank you so much. If you can, on the way out, hit that like button for me. The goal tonight was 200, and we did hit our goal. Thank you for that. If you can help us get to 300 on the way out, I will love you forever. Have yourself a great night, everyone, and I'll talk to you next time.